Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Today we are going to start a new lecture, chronic dacryocystitis. Last time we have finished congenital dacryocystitis and acute dacryocystitis. So, chronic dacryocystitis, it is a chronic infection of the lacrimal sac in adulthood that is more common than acute dacryocystitis. The topic of chronic dacryocystitis is important from the point of view of your theory as well as from your viva point of view. You can be given a case of chronic dacryocystitis, so you should be well versed with the topic chronic dacryocystitis. It can be a long question for you in chronic dacryocystitis, that is for 6 marks, and the case can be for 15 marks. So the topic lacrimal system can give you 21 marks. Okay, so from theory as well as practical point of view, you should work on this chronic dacryocystitis very well. Chronic dacryocystitis, it is usually due to an obstruction in the nasolacrimal duct followed by infection of the lacrimal sac. So when there is an obstruction, there is a stagnation of the tears, there is a stasis, and that is followed by infection. So obstruction can occur in the nasolacrimal duct. It can be congenital. It can be because of the diseases, that is tuberculosis, syphilis, leprosy, that is originating in surrounding bones or the nodes, and stricture of the nasolacrimal duct due to chronic atrophic rhinitis. Then obstruction at the lower end of the duct due to nasal polyp, hypertrophied, inferior turbinate, extreme deviation of the nasal septum, and tumors of the lacrimal sac. So these are the causes that will give rise to stagnation of the tears. Etiology is multifactorial. The vicious cycle of stasis and mild infection of long duration is the well-established fact. So, age, chronic dacryocystitis can occur, or it is a common between 40 to 60 years of age, predominantly seen in females. In Negroes, it is rarer than whites. It can be seen in low socio-economic group and poor personal hygiene. The bony canal in Negroes is wider, and so it is rare in Negroes. The factors responsible for stasis of tears in lacrimal sac are the anatomical factors that causes retardation of drainage of tears. There is a narrow bony canal and partial canalization of membranous nasolacrimal duct. All these anatomical factors cause retardation of drainage of tears. The predisposing factors, the causes of acquired nasolacrimal duct obstruction in the lumen are concretions, collection of calcium or fungal colonies around foreign bodies as lashes. Then in the wall there is a stricture. Then tumors or polypi of nasolacrimal duct. Also, it is given the congestion in the wall because of the lower end of the wall as an erectile tissue, and it becomes congested due to hormonal disturbances in females at about the menopause. So in the wall there is a stagnation, there is obstruction, pressure from outside by fractures or tumors of the maxillary sinus, then obstruction at the nasal end of nasolacrimal duct by deviated nasal septum and nasal polypi, just we have seen. So you can have a obstruction inside the lumen and from outside the lumen of the nasolacrimal duct. Then infection, stagnation of the contents of the lacrimal sac quickly followed by infection as a result of contamination by microorganisms from conjunctiva, that is Staphylococcus, Streptococcus, Pneumococci. A virulent inflammation of the lining of the sac is established. Lacrimal sac may get infected from nasal cavity, that is called as a retrograde spread of an infection. So the clinical picture, that is stage of chronic catarrhal dacryocystitis. So when there is a mild inflammation of lacrimal sac with blockage of nasolacrimal duct, watering of the eye is the symptom. So when there is a stasis, when there is a stagnation of tears, there will be no drainage of tears through the nasolacrimal duct, and there will be overflowing of the tears, that you call it as a epiphora. Then there is a constant stasis of the tears will cause redness at the inner canthus. On syringing, if you can do syringing at this time, there is a clear and mucoid fluid regurgitation. If you could do Dacryocyystography, it can show a block in the nasolacrimal duct. We will deal with afterwards. There is second stage, we call it as the stage of lacrimal mucocele. Chronic stagnation causes distension of the lacrimal sac. There is a constant epiphora, swelling just below the inner canthus. Then milky or gelatinous fluid regurgitates from the lower punctum on pressing the swelling. In this picture, you can see the patient is pressing at the swelling just below the medial palpebral ligament, and you can see the discharge coming out. So the discharge can come out from the lower punctum, or it can come from the upper punctum. Then stage of lacrimal mucocele. Continued chronic infection causes both canaliculi into sac. They are blocked, and large fluctuant swelling with negative irritation is seen at the inner canthus. This is called as a encysted mucocele. So in encysted mucocele, the discharge will not come from the upper punctum, as well as it will not go down through the nose, because there is a blockage at the canaliculus, and already there is a blockage at the nasolacrimal duct. So it is called as the encysted mucocele. Then there is a stage of chronic suppurative dacryocystitis. Due to pyogenic infection, the mucoid discharge becomes purulent. Then mucocele becomes pyocele. Frank purulent discharge flows from lower punctum on pressure, or there can be encysted pyocele. If the discharge comes after pressure, it is called as a regurgitation. So it can come as a mucoid, or it can come as a frank pus if it is a pyocele. And if the encysted mucocele turns into pyocele, there will not be any discharge. Then there is a fourth stage of chronic fibrotic sac. The low-grade repeated infections for a long period ultimately results in a small fibrotic sac due to thickening of mucosa. When there is a chronic inflammation or infection causes inflammation, and there is a fibrosis, so the sac becomes thick but small in the, so there is no regurgitation. It becomes a fibrotic sac. Then the signs. So when there is a question on a chronic dacryocystitis, you have to write clinical features, symptoms and signs. So describe chronic dacryocystitis and its management. So it can be a 6 marks, a long question. So the signs, it occurs more commonly in women, age around 60 to 40 years. There will be pooling of tears near the medial canthus, and there will be overflowing of the tears, that is, we call it as a epiphora. On pressure over the sac, there may be mucoid discharge or mucopurulent regurgitation through the puncti, or more rarely it passes down the nose. So when you are pressing at the medial canthal region, there can be two things that can occur. First is there will be a regurg after giving the pressure, that is called as a regurgitation on pressure. So if we go pressure at the medial canthal region, in a chronic dacryocystitis case, there can be regurg through the lower or upper punctum, or it can, the discharge can pass down to the nose if the sac is patent, or because of this hydrostatic pressure. There may be a non-tender swelling. In this picture, you can see a swelling at the medial canthal region. and there is no inflammation, there is no redness. So it is a chronic swelling at the medial canthal region. In this picture you can see encysted mucocele and there is swelling and there is a regurgitation. This picture shows the lacrimal sac is containing some fluid or mucoid discharge, and after giving the pressure with thumb at the medial canthal region over the sac, you can see the greenish color. You can see the regurg to the lower punctum. It is coming into the eye. So what is the type of regurgitation? When you are giving the pressure, you have to see what type of regurg it is coming, that is whether it is a clear, mucoid, mucopurulent or blood tinged. And the site of regurg has to be noted. If it is coming from external, it can come through the upper punctum or lower punctum, and if there is a fistula, external fistula, it can come out from the fistula. If you are giving the pressure, the discharge can empty into the nose also. That is called as emptying of the sac. It is internal. So the site of regurg can be observed as external or internal. So in chronic dacryocystitis, you can just see some common clinical situations. So when you are giving pressure on the sac region and the medial canthal region, if there is a clear mucor or mucopurulent regurgitation to upper or lower punctum, you call it as a chronic dacryocystitis. If it is a blood tinged regurgitation, it can be because of a tumor or dacryoleak. If there is no regurgitation and the sac remains dilated, we have just covered. You are giving the pressure on the sac, but there is no regurgitation, but the sac remains dilated. What it could be? It could be encysted mucocele. In this picture, the patient is having bilateral encysted mucocele. No regurgitation through the puncti, but sac empties. When you are giving the pressure, there is no regurgitation, but the swelling subsides. When you are giving the pressure, the sac empties. That is an internal fistula, or it comes through the nose into the mouth. It empties into the inferior meatus. That is internal fistula. So lacrimal system diagnosis signs, they can be done with diagnostic probing, lacrimal sac syringing, fluorescein dye disappearance test and Jones test. From your point of view, you should know what is the lacrimal sac syringing and what is the interpretation of the sac syringing procedure. So that can be a homework for you. After a probing, the punctum is dilated by a punctum dilator. So in our ophthalmology posting, you can come across this procedure that is done before a cataract surgery, that is called as a syringing of the sac or sac syringing. In a case of dacryocystitis, if your investigation where the block is, then you have to go accordingly. So there is a probe that is called as a Bowman's probe. You, from anatomy of the lacrimal system, you come to know that the canalopula, it has a vertical part that is 2 mm and horizontal part is 8 mm. So when a probe is introduced into the sac after giving a local anesthesia, that is surface anesthesia, if it is more than 8 mm of the probe can pass inside, there is no canalocular obstruction. If only less than 8 mm probe can be passed, there lies a canalocular obstruction. In this picture, in some books they have mentioned it as a hard stop and soft stop. So in hard stop, you can see that when the Bowman's probe has entered into the canalopuli, in this picture the probe has entered from the upper canalopulus and it is passed on more than 8 mm of the probe. It is passed inside and it has touched the bone at the medial capillary region, that is the medial part of the lacrimal sac. This is called as the hardest stop. If there is no canal flow obstruction, so you can pass the probe more than 8 millimeter. In second picture, this is called as the soft stop. If the probe cannot pass beyond 8 millimeter, or if only less than 8 millimeter of the probe can be passed, then there is a canalicular obstruction. It can be a uni canalicular, or it can have a obstruction at the common canalicular junction. So according to the passage of probe more than 8 millimeter or less than 8 millimeter, you can know the obstruction site. Then the another procedure, that is called as lacrimal sac syringing. It can also tell you the site of block. In this picture, there is a dilatation with a punctum dilator, little sheet punctum dilator. You are dilating the punctum, and after probing, you are doing a lacrimal sac syringing. That is done with the saline, lacrimal irrigation with saline. Saline is injected into the lacrimal passages by a special blunt angulated needle. It could reach the nose under pressure, thus there is a partial obstruction. So when you are irrigating lacrimal sac with a saline, you have to know what are the things that can occur. First, when you are irrigating the saline when it is injected into the lacrimal passages, the first thing can occur, that is a fast regurgitation. When you are injecting saline to, suppose, to a lower punctum, it if the saline comes to the upper punctum immediately, fast regurgitation. So you can very well think in terms that there is a common canalicular obstruction. So the fluid or the saline is coming immediately to the opposite punctum, that is upper punctum. If after irrigation the saline is coming slowly, so it means that the saline has entered to the lower punctum, to the lower canaliculus, inside the sac, and as there is a nasolacrimal duct block just below the sac, lacrimal sac, the fluid after distension of the lacrimal sac, it comes to the opposite punctum, that is upper punctum. So it takes some time to come to the upper punctum. So it is called as a slow regurgitation. So you can very well diagnose that there is a blockage at the lacrimal sac level, at the starting of the nasolacrimal duct. In this picture, it is depicted as a where it is a block. So block can be intracanalicular, there can be common canalicular stenosis, or there can be block into the sac. So according to the rigors of the fluid, whether it comes through the same punctum or same canaliculus, that is a canalicular block, it is coming through the opposite punctum immediately, then it is a common canalicular block. If it is coming with some time from again opposite punctum, it can be a block at the nasolacrimal sac. So you have to write a homework accordingly. I will tell. So this is a homework for you. You have to give the interpretation, like if the saline is irrigated through lower punctum and the saline comes from the lower punctum. What is the interpretation? Second, saline irrigated through lower punctum and immediately it comes from the upper punctum. Saline irrigated through lower punctum. Third one, saline irrigated through the third punctum, and it comes after some time with the discharge from upper punctum. Fourth, the saline goes inside the nose, and some part of the saline comes through the upper punctum. No saline comes through punctum. All the saline goes inside the nose. So you have to interpret all these five results of sac syringing. So when you are doing a sac syringing, what you want to see, what you are looking for. Just I told, regurgitation immediate or delayed, site of regurgitation, same punctum, opposite punctum or external fistula. Then you are seeing for the type of rigors, clear, mucoid or turbulent. There is a sac dilatation, and after the syringing whether there is any residue inside the sac. So the homework has to be completed. Now we will see some common clinical situations. So syringing through lower punctum, mucoid or mucopurulent regurgitation through upper punctum with delay. Dilatation of sac, residual stasis. It is a chronic dacryocystitis. If you are doing syringing through the lower punctum, immediate clear fluid regurgitation through upper punctum, there is no dilatation of the sac, no stasis. It is common canalicular block or fibrosed sac. Syringing through lower punctum, immediate clear fluid regurgitation through the same lower punctum. What is your diagnosis? It is a lower canalicular block. If you are doing syringing through the lower punctum, mucoid or mucopurulent regurgitation through the lower punctum, nasolacrimal duct plus upper canalicular block. Syringing through lower punctum, the sac is patent, the fluid goes inside the nose, but sac dilatation with residual stasis, you can call it as a tonic sac. The tone of the sac is not there, and so it is a patent, but it is because of the force. The syringing, it under hydrostatic pressure, it empties the sac. So sac is atonic. On its own, sac is not compressing the fluid. Syringing through lower punctum, no rigors, but patient does not report fluid leak. There is no rigors, but patient does not report fluid leak. What it could be? It could be diverticulum. When you are doing syringing through the lower punctum, it is patent, but some fluid regurgitates. Just I told, is partial block. So the regurg can be clear, it can be mucoid, or it can be a purulent one. So syringing through lower punctum, resistance to push fluid, patient reports pain and there is a local swelling. This is the condition. What it could be? There is a pain. Generally there should not be pain. Patient reports pain and there is a local swelling. So it is false passage you have created. So when you have done a dilatation of the punctum, but accidentally your canaliculi is bypassed. You are putting the saline or you are pushing the saline at some other part, that is false passage, and so there is a pain. So after lacrimal sac syringing, you can go for diagnosis of confirmation site of obstruction. The another test, that is the fluorescein dye disappearance test. You can do this test first and lacrimal sac syringing afterwards, as you wish. But this is a test, you can call it as a dye disappearance test. A drop of fluorescein should normally disappear from the congenital sac within 5 minutes. So when you put a drop of fluorescein solution inside the congenital sac through the punctum, canaliculus, common canaliculus, it should drain within a 5 minutes in the nose. So if it is not, then it can be because of the problem of blockage, or it can be because of lacrimal puncture also, because the dye is not entering inside the drainage system. So John's dye test, if a piece of cotton is put into the interferometer and a fluorescent drop in dye, the piece of cotton should normally receive the fluorescent within 5 minutes. Within 5 minutes. Within, that is called as John's dye disappearance test. Then John's dye test. In this picture you can see very well there is upper punctum, lower punctum of canaliculi, there is common canalicular opening inside the lacrimal sac. So when there is a dye put into the congenital sac at the inferior meatus, if it is collected at the nose, cotton tip applicator, if it is so, you can say the drainage system is patent. In another picture, dye disappearance test, it is given a negative. So the common canaliculus and the lacrimal sac is patent, but there is block at the nasolacrimal duct below at the starting point below the lacrimal sac. It is a negative. The dye is not present inside the nose. In the third picture, there is a canalicular block. So the fluorescent dye has not entered inside the drainage system, and so there is no wetting of the cotton tip applicator with fluorescent dye. Radiography. So after lacrimal sac syringing and dye disappearance test, we can go for radiography, plain X-ray to show bone lesions as a malunion of maxillary fractures. Then another, this is the dacryocystography. So this is an imaging a dye that is called as a radiopaque dye. You should know the names of the dye, radiopaque dye, that can be asked a question in your viva. A radiopaque dye is injected into the lacrimal passages and serial X-ray films are taken. So it may show abrupt nasolacrimal duct obstruction in cases of tumors, rat tail appearance in cases of stricture of nasolacrimal duct, no obstruction but delayed emptying of lacrimal sac in cases of functional lacrimal obstruction. It occurs due to paralysis of lacrimal portion of auricular oculi. The dye cannot enter the sac in cases of canalicular obstruction. So you should know something about dacryocystography. So this is a picture showing the dacryocystography imaging of the lacrimal drainage system with a radiopaque dye. Then there is another procedure you can do that is called as a lacrimal scintillography. Radioactive eye drops are instilled and its movement through the lacrimal passage is monitored. So it can be observed after 1 minute, 5 minutes, 25 minutes and post equalization. So this is the accurate method. This is, you can call it as a tracing of radioactive eye drops. It will tell you the exact location of a blockage of the nasolacrimal drainage system. What are the complications of chronic dacryocystitis? There is chronic conjunctivitis, acute dacryocystitis, lacrimal abscess, lacrimal fistula, orbital cellulitis, and rarely cavernous sinus thrombosis. If you are not taking it, the chronic dacryocystitis goes into acute dacryocystitis. It can have orbital cellulitis, fascial cellulitis, and rarely cavernous sinus thrombosis. These are the complications. So what is the treatment? So dacryocystectomy is or was the choice, but nowadays you can have an endonasal DCR, endoscopic DCR. So you want to preserve the sac because after dacryocystomy there is a constant ephora. There is no sac, and so the tears are formed. They will not drain into the sac, and there will be constant over rolling of the tears. That is epiphora. So that is a cosmetically problem for the patient. So you are doing DCR, that is called as a bypass surgery. The lacrimal tears, they has to be drained through the sac into the nose. So there is a bypass. That is dacryocystomy that can be external and that can be internal, that is endoscopy. So accordingly, there is another homework for you from the type of or the you can say the level of blockage, whether it is at the canaliculus, whether it is at the common canaliculus, whether it is at the lacrimal sac or nasolacrimal duct opening in the inframatus. You can decide the type of surgery. So this you can write as a homework. According to the type of blockage of the lacrimal drainage system, what are the types of surgery one can do? We will, in your clinical posting, we will discuss about this DCT and TCR operations. Thank you.